Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into this completely fascinating dual mystery. Have you ever actually wondered why our absolute best human predictions, our estimations, our most complex models just consistently fall apart in the real world? It's a problem that spans almost every professional discipline out there. We're going to look at two completely different fields, software engineering and international macroeconomics, and discover that despite how wildly different they seem, they suffer from the exact same fundamental illusion. Okay, let's just dive right into our first mystery by asking a question that honestly sounds like a terrible math joke, but is actually a daily nightmare for engineers. How on earth can a project take 180% of its scheduled time? I mean, it literally defies basic logic, right? And yet, if you've spent any time at all in the tech world, you know this happens literally all the time.
What we're really looking at here is this fundamental realization about building complex things. The effort you need to finally cross that finish line is often just completely disconnected from the massive mountain of work you've already done. When we build complex systems, progress isn't linear. It doesn't move in a straight, predictable, comforting line. Instead, you hit this wall, this exponential growth of technical complexity right at the finish line that just completely shatters those initial estimates.
Mystery number one, the software paradox. To really wrap our heads around this paradox, we have to look at this famous piece of laboratory wisdom that came from Tom Cargill over at Bell Labs back in the mid-20th century. Computing was just starting to grapple with these massive cost and time overruns, a period people called the software crisis. Cargill noticed something incredibly peculiar about how engineers worked and how they reported their progress. He coined what is brilliantly known as the 90-90 rule. It goes like this. The first 90% of the code takes 90% of the development time, and the remaining 10% takes the other 90% of the time. It was super popular in the 80s as this sort of bumper sticker computer science joke, but that 180% total isn't just hyperbole for laughs. It's actually a vital diagnostic tool for modern project management. The psychology behind this is absolutely fascinating. That superficial absurdity of a 180% completion time perfectly captures the gap between feeling like you're making progress and actually being ready to launch. It's the almost done illusion. We see this all the time. A developer looks at their project, sees the main buttons are working, and thinks, awesome, I'm 90% done. But making a piece of software function in a nice, controlled lab environment is vastly, fundamentally different from making it survive out in the messy real world. What's really revealing here is that the immense difficulty of that final 10% has nothing to do with writing a larger volume of code. It's all about the exponential interconnectedness and the incredibly painful discovery of hidden complexities. These are your dreaded unknown unknowns. You start building and bam, suddenly you realize you need multi-factor authentication or this insanely complex refund logic or strict regulatory compliance. Connecting all these different modules suddenly reveals API timeouts, race conditions, and corrupted database states that literally only happen when the system is put under heavy, unpredictable load. When you actually break down the phases, you see exactly how the unsexy infrastructure work completely derails the original math. Think about the prototyping phase. That first block of time is all about the happy path, just making it work under ideal, pristine conditions. But the second phase, the hardening phase, that encompasses rigorous security reviews, vulnerability audits, chaotic error handling, the whole shebang. It acts as a massive warning label for optimism in project management. You aren't done when the code is written. You're only done when the system is truly hardened against reality. Mystery number two, the missing global trade. So how exactly does a late-night coding headache scale up to the entire globe?
Well, just like software engineers misjudge the final 10% of their code, international trade economists have been absolutely baffled by an economic theory that stubbornly refuses to match the reality of global trade. They built this pristine, highly logical model that, much like a developer's early prototype, worked beautifully on paper, but completely fell apart the second it was exposed to real-world data.
This brings us to a really seminal paper published in the American Economic Review. A team of researchers decided to set out and solve a massive discrepancy in economics that had famously been dubbed the mystery of the missing trade. They basically wanted to know why our absolute best mathematical models were predicting these huge, world-spanning movements of goods and labor that were just nowhere to be found. Right at the heart of this mystery is the HOV model. It's a mainstay in economic theory. It essentially predicts trade based on what a region naturally has. Its raw resources, its college-educated labor, its capital. But empirically, when applied to actual international data, it has been a total flop. And why? Because it relies on some incredibly rigid, highly idealized assumptions about how the world works, completely ignoring the friction of reality. Get a load of this. Based on strict rules of this HOV model, Japan was predicted to import or export a massive absolute average of 36% of its national endowments in non-college labor, college labor, and capital. Just think about that scale for a second. The model looked at Japan's resources, looked at the rest of the world, and confidently declared that over a third of the country's economic baseline should be actively flowing across its borders as global trade. But check out the measured reality. The actual factor content of trade was an order of magnitude smaller. We're talking 3.6% for non-college trade and an incredibly tiny 2.3% for capital. The model was basically predicting huge phantom trade flows that simply never embarked. The ships were, quite literally, missing from the ocean. The economic model was hallucinating a global reality that just did not exist. Fixing the economic model. To figure out why the model was hallucinating so badly, the researchers looked really closely at Japanese regional data, things like trade between Tokyo and Hokkaido, and the contrast they found was just stark. They proved that the strict model failed largely because it arrogantly assumed all countries globally use the exact same production technologies. It assumed universal factor price equalization. Basically, it was pretending a factory in rural India operated with the exact same technological efficiency and capital substitution as a state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Germany. By relaxing this one rule and allowing for regional nuances, the picture completely changes. By dropping that incredibly rigid assumption and only applying it to regions within Japan, where trade barriers are actually low and technology really is highly similar, the researchers did something amazing. They effectively removed the economic equivalent of the software engineer's unknown unknowns. They stopped pretending that our messy, complex global world was some uniform, friction-free laboratory. And the results? Once they corrected their assumptions to account for those hidden regional complexities and stopped forcing identical technology rules onto completely different countries, the model's new predictions plummeted. They dropped from that massive, hallucinated 36% down to a modest absolute average of under 2.4%. That perfectly matched the actual real-world data. Boom! The missing trade mystery was completely solved. Embracing hidden complexity. So, what's the grand synthesis here? What exactly connects the frustrated software engineer working late on a weekend to the perplexed international economist? Well, whether it's a developer assuming the last 10% of their code will be just as easy as the first 90,
Or an economist assuming every single country builds products identically, ignoring the messy, nonlinear realities of the world, always leads to massive prediction failures. The real world fundamentally refuses to be simplified into a neat, frictionless equation. We always have to account for the hardening, the weird edge cases, and those regional nuances. As you look at your own work today, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. What oversimplified, rigid assumptions are causing the models in your own industry to fail right now? Are you living in the first 90%, completely unaware of the 90% that's still to come? Think deeply about the hidden complexities in your own projects. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep questioning your assumptions.